Here we go. Sports conversation with James Navalance on the Believe Network. Joining us today is Coach Scott Bittner from Stockton University men's basketball head coach. First off, I really appreciate you coming on, Coach.
No, it's great to be here. It's always nice to talk basketball.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's just get right into your background. You're a Philly guy, Wheeling Jesuit University. Just take me kind of, being a Philly guy first, and then just what your experience was at being at Wheeling Jesuit University.
Well, it's funny. My roots are Philly roots because of my dad and and my mom. My mom's British, but she moved to Philly when she moved to America. And my dad is from North Philly, and he's one of six brothers and sisters, and he went to parishes in Philadelphia, and he was one of the first of the Philadelphia people that migrated to the shore. Um, but we still, as a child, spent a ton of time in the city and owned some property up there. And then I actually grew up in Ocean City. So I'm as much a beach guy as I am anything. And I still remain a beach guy. Um, but I went to St. Augustine Prep and I graduated from there. I mean, that was a really good program at the time. In the years since, it has gotten even better. Um, it's funny how it works out. I was not, and I tell my players this, I was not a very good high school student. So, I lost some opportunities basketball wise. I went to junior college for a year, and then I ended up at a D2 school in West Virginia. That the reason I got that scholarship was because of a friend of my dad who was Fran O'Hanlon, who was the head coach at Lafayette. He's a guy I had played pickup basketball with a lot when I was growing up. Um, he made a phone call to the Wheeling coach, who is a Philly guy, and they kind of offered me without even really seeing me. Um, so it ended up working out great. Um, Going to a level lower maybe than some of the schools that had recruited me ended up being great because I thought it allowed me to broaden my game in a lot of different areas. Back then, if you were a point guard, you throw the ball to the wing and maybe you get out and you clear out and you give guys room. Well, at that level, I was asked to do so much that at the end of the 3 years there, I just felt that I was a better overall player than I would have been if maybe some of my other dreams came true.
How do you think that experience being, you said kind of a lower level than maybe what you could have been? How do you think that helps you now being at a Division 3 school? Not, we talk about levels like obviously you have a guy like DJ Campbell, obviously can play at another level, being a D3 All American. How do you think that helps you just recruit and kind of relate, to your players that like, yeah, the level is Division 3, but that doesn't sustain your level of success?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I was with a recruit 2 days ago, and I told him that I said, yeah, I know you're interested in some of these other schools, but we've got some guys overseas, and I don't think they go overseas if they would have ended up at a higher level to begin with because they wouldn't have been asked to do as much. They wouldn't have been in a pick and roll maybe at 6'7". They would have been sitting on the wing. Just waiting for the ball to come to them. I have a history of, just guys I grew up with that ended up at higher levels. And then, when we come home in the summer, I'm like, man, I've improved a lot more than they have. So I tell that to recruits. I'm like, if you have an interest in maybe playing overseas, then maybe you should look at a smaller school where you're asked to really broaden your game. Um, and when it comes to us, a lot of it comes down to financial aid, and I don't give that pitch to kids that I don't think, you know, is the best fit financially. We most of our guys are lower income guys, because we still compete with the scholarship schools, and oftentimes are cheaper um, than some of them for the lower income kids, and DJ kind of fits in there. DJ had some academic question marks as well as so that was a perfect marriage, and I could really sell the program to him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now take me through, 10 years being an assistant and, essentially, obviously at the same place at Stockton under Coach Matthews. learning under him, and then obviously, leading to what you are and now. But how important was that decade, learning under him at Stockton?
Well, it's funny. I mean, you talk about paying your dues. It was basically 10 years of working for no money. Um, when I got out of college, my family was in the bar and restaurant business. And I kind of took over that business, and I worked 80 hours a week for 10 years. And I'm like, Jesus, this is brutal. And unfortunately, my father passed away. And at that time, we had sold the bar. And I'm like, I bought a car wash so I could coach. So, it was pretty flexible. So I was able to do both and work for no money um, for 10 years. Jerry was great in terms of being really detailed on a lot of the things that determine winning and losing. I think a lot of coaches get caught up in a lot of things, but not everything controls winning and losing. If you can be great at the things that take no talent, then I think you have a chance to be really good. And Jerry was great at that. He would nitpick things, effort wise and toughness wise, and he was a great mentor in that way. And I was able to see the game that way, and that's probably become my strength. Is just demanding excellence in the areas that don't take a ton of talent.
Yes, if we can succeed at the things that don't take talent, it's amazing what, each of us individually and collectively can accomplish. What would you say now it's your seventh year being that head coach? How would you say your leadership has developed over that time in that role?
Well, I mean, I think, when you first become a head coach, and nobody gave me this advice, but now I give it to a lot of people when they first get their job, or if somebody gets a job, I'll send them a text and I'll be like, do 20% of what you want to do. You get your first job, and you have all these notes, you have all these ideas, and you try to do everything, and it just backfires. And until I figured out to just really, really streamline what was important. Transition defense, guarding the ball, boxing out, all that stuff. That's when we started to take off as a program. So I mean, that's kind of my advice to young guys when they get a job. Just don't do everything you want to do.
Yes, definitely. What would you say from a culture standpoint? If you had to define this is the culture of Stockton men's basketball, what would that be, and what does that look like?
Well, I mean, we live our core values. I think we recruit through our core values. The most important value in our program is being connected. I want guys that develop great friendships. I think that's the most important thing. Is in 20 or 30 years, I still want you to be best friends with the guys you went to college and played basketball with, as I am. So we really, really concentrate on that. I mean, there's games that I've put on the board just high five more than the other team. Um, so that stuff is more important than the basketball stuff. I spend more time in the off season probably on leadership stuff rather than X and O stuff. I think we overload the X's and O's, and we overload learning, and we just end up with like a big old scrambled egg in our head, instead of just concentrating on the values and living them and demanding that stuff.
Without question, those things are so vital to sustaining success and bringing in the right guys rather than just bringing in anybody, but it's really bringing in, the right type of people. Now, sustaining success. You guys, win the NJAC, win the tournament, win the regular season. Then you guys go to Sweet 16, win a couple games. Now you're coming in, obviously 3-0 to start this year. How do you maintain that level of those expectations? It's easy. They all say it's easy, like to get to the top of the mountain, essentially, right? And then sustaining it's even harder. So, what would you say? Obviously, it's the beginning of the year, but the challenges of sustaining it and what
Well,
goes
I
into that.
think the most important thing is to stay humble and keep playing with humility. I'm not sure we've been great at that. The first three games. I'm a big Eagles fan, right? And so they lose
Yep.
the other day, and why did they lose? Well, they didn't play as humble as they had the previous 8 weeks, um, and everybody's gunning for you. Um, our talent is getting us by, but we're not competing for a national championship with it. How we're playing now, and how the lack of humility we've brought onto the floor. So I mean, you try and try and try, and even last year we went through a stretch where we just weren't real good, and we needed to lose. I said it last night. If we lose the game, there's really, the kids, they win. They just concentrate on the result, and the most important thing is the process of the win. We talk about scoring. Well, it's not like does the ball go in or not. Was the process, and was the quality of the shot what you want. So you try and try and try and let the kids know that it's not the result. It's are we happy with the way we're playing. Um, and then the overall, how do you maintain a program is and get it from year to year is recruiting. I mean, it's the most important part of our job. Um, I'll say, there's, the quality of our coaching, it just comes down to players, right? Like, DJ's had some really good second halves, and he's kind of bailed us out in the last few games. That had nothing to do with me. Um, it's just,
Yeah.
almost the better job I do is when I relinquish the outcome during the game, and just trust the kids, and just try to hammer home the details.
100%. We can all, X's and O's, motivation, all that, but at the end of the day, it is the players who are deciding these outcomes, and we just have to put them in the best position possible to succeed. A fun one here. Obviously, my connection to you directly in some ways is Nick Dunzak, my cousin. So, just a fun one here. What's it like coaching Nick?
Big Nick. He embodies the connectivity, and it probably comes from his
Yeah.
parents because they're
Yeah.
awesome. But just the friendship, and how much fun it seems like they have in their little house down there. And I kind of tell them, I said, they're all, I think three or four of them are going to graduate, and one of them's not. I said, the day you graduate, we're going to put the other one to bed, and we're just going to sit around and have a few beers, and just talk about the last 4 years. And I think he embodies the connectivity more than anyone. I have a neighbor, and she's a teacher, and Nick's student teaching in her school, and he says all he
Yep.
does is walk around with a big old smile on his face, and that's Nick. Um, he's a little hard on himself so I think he gets on his own way at times. I tell him not to be hard on yourself for shooting a ball. I said be hard on yourself for your
Mhm.
rebounding and your defense. I don't care.
100%. We can agree on that.
Right, I know you can
Absolutely.
shoot the ball.
Yep.
Like be hard on yourself on your motor.
Yes.
But
Yes.
he's just he's embodied our number one core value, and he's done it. And he's one of the leaders in bringing that together. And I'm kind of jealous of that home they have, that he shares with the other teammates, because they look like they have a lot of fun.
There's no question they have a ton of fun in that house. I've heard so many different stories. I know he's like, oh, gotta get back to the house because he's obviously having a great time with the guys. I know that's the biggest and best and most important thing. Like that connectivity, being an elite teammate, being that guy. Obviously, on his energy level is consistent, and having that on a team, having a team on a winning team is so important. So that's terrific to hear for you on him. Last one for you here. It's kind of my ethos. It's what I'm all about, and what I kind of want to do for others is elevate them in this category. What's the best version of yourself?
What is the best version of myself? That's a good question. So when we sat down and thought about the core values, Billy Lang's one of my closest friends, the head coach at St. Joe's, and we sit on the beach a lot in the summer, and all I wanted to talk about was basketball, and all he wanted to talk about was leadership. And I think the best version of myself was just figuring out who I am. So, one of my great traits as is my ability to maintain friendships and connect friends to friends. Um, so that is probably my best quality. So anytime you're going to put values in a program, it's got to be something you embody. So my best qualities as a person are being connected, and just if I'm at the Final Four, like I might be bringing 6 or 7 groups of people together, and next thing you know, they become friends. um, I for some reason, and it probably comes back to my parents and their upbringing. My dad was the son of a motorcycle cop in North Philly, and my mom was the daughter of an English school teacher, and they had really tough, disciplined upbringings, and toughness is probably a trait that most people would give to me. That's a good version of myself. Sometimes I have to be a little more mentally tough when it comes to the officials. That's for sure. So that is not the best version of myself. I thought the best version of myself was, last night I just ignored the refs. But luckily they did a good job. They did a really good job. So it was easy to do. Um, but just bringing people together is probably the best version of myself.
No, that's awesome. And as you said, like that goes back to your core values. You said it, the connection, the connectivity, having that's your guys' main focus of that. Again, it always kind of translates, the team takes the identity of their head coach. So having
Right.
that identity that you have, that connectivity, makes a ton of sense that translates to you guys as a core value for your team.
Right. If I wasn't very social, it would be hard for me to ask them to be social and see what that looks like. But just seeing it, have a group of guys that are laughing and joking, and last night we had a minute or two. We wrapped up our pregame talk and we turned the beatbox on, and guys are dancing, and that's what it's all about. Just seeing guys have fun and be loose. I'd like them to come out and defend a little bit better when I let them play their crap in the locker room. But maybe next game it's my old school stuff and not this new stuff.
Well, we'll see. You guys got Rowan on Tuesday. I'm gonna do my best to get down there as well. We have a practice at 2, so I'll have a little bit of time. So I'm gonna try to get down there, for
Yeah.
that big game against Rowan. But I appreciate you coming on. This is Sports Conversation with James Navalance on the Believe Network. I really appreciate your time, Coach.
Thanks for having me, and I'll kick Nick in the ass for you when next practice. All right.
I appreciate that a ton.
All right. See ya.
See ya.